Meanwhile, the government's war on kids' concession stands continued. We've talked about this just a little bit, but since we've talked about it, there have been more incidents of little kids' lemonade stands being shut down. I had a concession stand briefly when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Yes, it wasn't lemonade. This was the summer of '64, hanging out with some friends there and what were we going to do? We didn't have any money. We wanted to go down to the drugstore and buy some comic books or soda pop or something. No money. We'd found all of the empty soda bottles, which you used to see a lot of in those days. Just people would just throw them around everywhere, and you'd pick them up and take them down to the grocery store, and you could sell them. And, we had just about scavenged and completely depleted the stock in Mansfield, Texas.
Recycled and cleaned up the town.
But I had this idea. Let's set up a tattoo stand.
Really?
Yes. And I decided, to do tattoo art. And because I was, always the artist in those days, too. And I was inspired by tattoos because in downtown Fort Worth, in this interesting area with a lot of honky-tonks and dives, and an area that actually historically, that was the famous Hell's Half Acre. But one thing that always attracted my attention was a tattoo parlor, which in those days, now they're everywhere. But
as are the tattoos.
Yeah, as are the tattoos. But it was called Sailor Bob, the Tattooing Gob. That was on the sign. So anyway, I had this whole idea about setting up a tattoo parlor in the front yard of a friend of mine. And so we did, and I put together all this flash art and had it all displayed. And, of course, I was just going to do it in
inks,
color marker or something. I think we made 5 cents. We didn't have a lot of takers because timing is everything. I was decades ahead of my time. But anyway, that kind of thing would be illegal now because this continues to happen over and over again. Little kids running their lemonade stands in the summer. They had 3 little girls who were trying to raise money for to go to a water park, and the cops came and shut them down. And these incidents happen a lot. The most recent being a child who set up a stand to sell green tea. And got shut down by the
fluids are immune to this embargo.
Oh, yeah. By the Massachusetts State Troopers. And it was kind of weird in this case because, first of all, the town police had stopped by this green tea stand and it talked to the child and then wished him good luck and then drove on. And then shortly afterwards, another cop comes up, and it was the Massachusetts State Police. And it's some kind of so it's a state case.
These kids are committing economic terrorism.
Yeah,
this is a serious issue.
And can you imagine how that must the message that sends to a child? And I guess that's the message it's meant to send.
You have to spend $400 to $5,000 to get a permit.
The message is to discourage anyone from a free enterprise, that you have to get the permission, you have to pay for the permission from the government, and so I'm beginning to think it's a PsiOp, with that purpose in mind, to get condition society from the earliest ages on up, that there is no hope for having some kind of a business or thing of your own. You're always going to be dependent to some degree or other on the nanny state or police state, call it whatever you will. But there have been, at least 30 cases here that we know of. Who knows how many times this has happened? We didn't get reported. But most of them, the first, I believe, was back as far as 1990. But most of them are in the past year and the previous year. It's just, and they're happening all over the country, and so I guess it's just a coincidence. It's just a spontaneous thing.
It's the zeitgeist.
Yeah, but it's the kind of zeitgeist you would expect from the kind of moronic police state attitude. Although, in all fairness, there are a number of municipalities that have said, "Oh, we're never going to do that. Don't worry." But whatever message maybe they think they're sending by this, the cops and or the bureaucrats who are issuing the edicts for the cops to go out and shut down lemonade stands. Whatever message they think they're sending. One message is that maybe that's not intended by them is that maybe there's not enough real crime to keep the cops busy if they're going around harassing 12-year-olds. I mean, if this keeps up, more and more stories like this, people might start thinking, well, maybe we have too many cops. And then come budget cutting time, might be jobs lost. Might look at other parts of the budget, some of those toys in the SWAT department and the tasers and the drones and what have you. People might start to see, those are kind of expensive, and also all those unnecessary SWAT calls. The budget for that has got to be huge over the course of a week.
Especially the lawsuits that result when people are accidentally killed.
Oh, there's that. And that might be a real good place to start cutting the budget. So keep it up. Keep harassing the 12-year-olds. But here's the thing. It is symptomatic of something that goes up to the higher levels of free enterprise and business in this country. They're shutting down lemonade stands. It's kind of like that saying, first they came for the lemonade stands, and I said nothing. Then they came for the guitar factories, Gibson guitars. This is an amazing story. It shouldn't amaze me, but the Homeland Security twice. The first raid on the Gibson guitar factory in Nashville was conducted by the Department of Homeland Security. This was a little while ago, and somehow I missed this, but they went in there, and the CEO describes this in a great a radio interview that's online that's should be listened to. He said that he and the other executives were at a nearby an executive retreat having a big meeting, and they get this call that the factory's been raided by Homeland Security. They thought it was a joke. He goes down there and finds out it's not. They've come in there with a huge SWAT army, armed, and they're confiscating guitars, and they're interrogating employees.
What is this over? What is the charge?
This is really weird. And so this was 2 years ago. And in all this time, it's never been clear exactly what or why, he says. And finally, the Gibson Guitars filed a lawsuit. The U.S. government has not wanted to say anything about it, has not wanted to resolve it, just wants to let it hang out there, just to kind of let Gibson Guitar know that we can shut you down anytime. So they file a lawsuit, and just when the hearing is about to happen, a few weeks short of this hearing that's going to happen, they stage this raid again over this time saying that it has something to do with this rosewood or whatever that came from India, and in every case, the company says that they have all the affidavits, everything to show that it's not in violation of the law. There's no endangered wood species here. But here's the thing: the claim is, on the part of the Justice Department, that they're bringing in this partially finished wood from Madagascar, and because once they get it, they have to do what they have to do to it to turn it into a part of a guitar, so they finish it. And because they're finishing what didn't get finished in this other country, that violates that country's laws. In other words, because it's Americans doing it in an American-owned factory, they're in violation of another country's law, and therefore it's a Homeland Security matter. Oh, and that is the absolute truth. It sounds like we're through the looking glass, and I guess we are. But that's the absolute truth.
Bizarre.
That is the... So they've come for the guitar companies.
Bizarro world, Mack. We're truly...
This is one to watch very closely.
In the heart of bizarro world.
And see what is behind this. But we've seen Homeland Security get involved in other things like Rubik's Cubes. Remember that?
Yeah.
What does any of it have to do with Homeland Security? On which subject? You know, the latest video has been put out, a public service announcement from Janet Napolitano for people to, you know, if you see something, say something. You know, they're trying to get this Stasi-like citizen spy network set up. Well, there's an article here from Activist Post. 10 things citizen spies should report to DHS. Number 1, here's something that we've seen that's suspicious activity about 9/11. Something is very suspicious about the official version of the attacks of September 11th, 2001. First, corporate media restricts discussion of the events of 9/11, especially technical aspects like how a 47-story steel skyscraper, Building 7, collapsed into its own footprint without being hit by a plane. Steel turned into powder or molten liquid, or destroyed insider trading records of airline put options, among other anomalies. Yes, it goes on. Very suspicious. Dick Cheney standing down and so forth. And, you know, looting is something that's in the news a lot here. You know, flash mobs do that. So do, you know, Wall Street criminals. That's second on the list here. Bank looting. We're talking, you know, trillions and trillions of dollars. A mass looting of $16 trillion to prop up failed banking institutions around the world. Somewhere in between was a massive stimulus, QE1 and QE2, that by all indicators only benefited the banksters as well. There has been no official authority given by the people's representatives for these transactions, yet the bank bailouts were clearly a jailhouse raping of the American public. The people will suffer high inflation, higher taxes, lost jobs, and less public benefits as a result. The ringleading rapists are Ben Bernanke, Tim Geithner, Hank Paulson, Jamie Dimon, Lloyd Blankfein, and others, presidents from both sides of the aisle and nearly all of Congress. You know, those are the real criminals. Those are the real threats to the homeland. Fraudulent foreclosures. The mortgage fraud scandal is indeed the biggest in human history. The involvement of mortgage brokers, ratings agencies, appraisers, robo-signers, and every other type of criminality went right up the ladder to banks like Goldman Sachs, J.P. Morgan, and Bank of America. Some even employed real mafia tactics by breaking into people's homes. Now banks are scrambling to provide documentation as it appears that people have been thrown onto the street without proof. Oh, did you read about the 70-year-old couple, a terminally ill husband? His 70-year-old wife paid the mortgage a couple of days early, and they're foreclosing on them. Any excuse to foreclose. It goes on. Environmental devastation, radiation cover-up, illegal wars, the usual stuff here. Anyway, these are all threats to the homeland. And I find them very suspicious indeed.
I think I want a short, strange musical break.